Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor-in-chief of Retail Insider. Joining me today is Sylvain Charlebois, Senior Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. Thanks, Sylvain, for joining us again.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Mario.
Okay, lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to the grocery industry. Before we get into prices, which is the big news, I wanted to ask you first of all about grocers, and I guess it ties in a bit here. Big grocers are more and more opening up smaller discount stores. Why is that happening?
Well, actually, discount stores are not necessarily smaller.
Yeah.
They're cheaper, of course, and obviously these stores are filled with private labels, essentially. So we heard from Metro earlier this year. They're opening up 12 Super C stores. That's the equivalent to No Frills by Loblaws, and of course, Loblaws announced this week that it's opening up 70 stores, converting a few. And of course, they'll retrofit almost 200 stores. But I actually got into the numbers and saw, because every year we hear from grocers about new stores, and I've always wondered, well, they are closed. There are stores that do close. So what's the real number? So I actually dug into some of the numbers, and I actually realized that right now in Canada, we actually have about 19 stores or about 20 stores per 100,000 Canadians. So that's one for every 6,000. So it's not bad. Now you may ask, is it higher and lower than before? It's actually right now it's actually lower because in 2020 we had over 22 stores per 100,000. So basically, when you look at population density and the number of stores per capita, our numbers are actually shrinking in Canada. And of course, from a competitive perspective, you should be concerned. In the US, they're at 19 and they've been at 19 basically for 6 years in a row. It hasn't changed at all. And ours has actually dropped by about 6%.
Yeah. So why are these stores, going to more discount stores?
Well, I mean, the first of all, grocers are adapting to a much more frugal market. They don't have much of a choice. People have less money, and they're adapting. And of course, there are liquidation centers that are independent. They're emerging all over the place. So it's actually, I mean, the discounting market is getting way more competitive. And frankly, I mean, the No Frills brand for Loblaw in particular and the Super C brand for Metro are cash cows right now for both grocers.
Now, let's talk a little bit about food prices and food inflation. What's it like out there in Canada compared to other places?
It's not easy. We currently have the highest food inflation rate among G7 countries, and of course we are expecting the rate to drop because last year we had the GST holiday, so we were expecting a bit of a surge. But if you take out the GST holiday, of course, we would still have the highest food inflation rate amongst G7 countries. So it's actually quite problematic. And people are noticing higher prices in meat at the meat counter. The center of the store is also a bit problematic, and now vegetables are emerging as a problematic category as well.
Yeah. Now, maybe you can shed some light on the tariff situation because it seems to change every day. And we had some news with Supreme Court the other day in the U.S., and then we had Trump threatening even more tariffs. Where are we at with this when it comes to food and groceries?
Well, you tell me. It's actually quite confusing. And I think that the president of the United States wants it that way, to be honest. That's his game. He wants uncertainty. He loves uncertainty. And he likes to keep the entire world on its toes, essentially. And that's what happened. Washington has a plan. It's funny because when you listen to some Canadian analysts, you kind of believe that they think that Washington doesn't have a plan. They do have a plan, and the plan is to basically put is to pause globalization. They do not believe in globalization. They actually think it's a policy. I disagree fundamentally with that, but we have to live with it. I mean, we didn't elect Donald Trump, the Americans did, and that's the mandate that he was given, or at least that's the mandate he thinks he was given. And so we have to work with that.
Yeah.
Right now, with the judgment from the Supreme Court, of course, we are facing 15% tariffs for non-sectorial. The for sectorial, of course, another 15% was added up. We're not in a good position, to be honest, and frankly, even though there are many products that are CUSMA and exempt, if you actually talk to exporters, they'll tell you it's getting complicated at the border just because of geopolitics. So it's just not good news right now. But the real focus, is on the renewal and the review of CUSMA.
Okay. I want to talk just a little bit about different formats out there in the grocery stores. And, one of the things that we've seen in recent years is more kind of the urban formats, the smaller store footprint in the heart of a city. Do you see more and more of that coming?
Uh, Probably. I mean, right now, rent is cheap downtown. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
closures these days, so certainly that's something that grocers may go after for sure. But the one thing that I've noticed in recent months is that we are seeing grocers, particularly Loblaw, trying to create supply chain synergies between banners, and in particular, Shoppers and No Frills, or Shoppers and other stores.
Yeah.
They're actually going to be building many of them right next to each other. And now they're not doing like Walmart. They're not putting a pharmacy inside the store, which is interesting, but it's pretty darn close. And I think they just know, well, they're delivering stuff to one place, might as well deliver stuff to the neighbor as well, which
Yeah.
is another store we're operating. I think that's the logic there, and I'm expecting more of these things to happen.
Okay. The other thing I'm curious about, and I don't know if maybe you could talk a little bit about this, is I've noticed, I'm based in Calgary, and I've noticed more and more ethnic stores, of all kinds of nationalities popping up,
Yep,
and small to large, right? And
yep.
to the big T&T supermarkets, to the little neighborhood stores. Why is that happening?
Well, I think that's I think a lot of large chains have actually failed to recognize the potential. That's one thing.
Hmm.
The other thing is that they offer really good deals, and so because we're seeing the same thing in Halifax, I'm seeing the same thing in Montreal. I'm in Quebec City right now. It's the same thing here. And I think the market is just adapting to a marketplace that is looking not only for different foods, but good deals as well. And these operators operate the supply chain very differently. They get to better deals, and they're basically kind of saving some food that may not be appreciated or bought or carried by larger grocers.
Okay, then. Thanks, Sylvain, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, that was Sylvain Charlebois, who is Senior Director, Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Co-Editor-in-Chief of Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.